This is where I tell you what I've been up to in the last 2 months. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Angela, and yes, this is my wrap-up outlook. What has been happening on this channel, where were I on other channels, all the good stuff, and then also, of course, what can you expect on this channel here. So let's start with what was going on Do Unicorns Read. So this is basically the videos I was doing mostly in February and March. I had just one video in January because January was still, my break from YouTube, winter break, so to say. And I came back at the end of January with something a little bit different. And this was a review of Unearthed Stories. Unearthed Stories is an interactive fiction app that was developed by Livia J. Elliot and her partner. And if you haven't tried it yet, please do. It's for free. By the way, all the people I'm mentioning and all possible links will be in the description box for you to find there. If there are Amazon links, then they're not affiliated links. I would like to stress this, so I don't earn from any of this. Unearthed Story is what's called an interactive fiction app. I have very little experience with this, so this was a little bit of an experiment for me as well. And surprise, I actually liked this type of reading. I also love the stories. The stories are all fantasy and sci-fi stories, so totally in keeping with what I'm normally talking about here on my channel. It's a very different format. I was also very lucky that I could sit down with Livia and talk to her a little bit about this. Why is she publishing her stories in this format? And also, what's inspiring her? What's it like from a writing process point of view to write a story that needs to incorporate different options for the reader to try out? So you can find that interview on the channel as well, and that is spoiler free. So even if you haven't tried the app yet, you can watch the interview, no problem. Yeah, and then we were full blast into the Dune read along, and I had such a great time discussing Dune with 5 other fabulous people. I was joined for this by Vasha from the channel Reading by the Rainy Mountain, by Philip Chase from the channel Philip Chase, by Jared from the Fantasy Thinker, Matt from Matt on Books, and for the last 2 discussions we were also joined by Carl Albert. Carl Albert doesn't have a BookTube channel. He is a self-published author. He's published The Truth of Crowns, which is a start. It's the first in a series. And he is also a screenwriter and knows much more about Dune than I do and probably ever will do. But that's, of course, is why I sit down with other people to hear stuff I haven't thought about, to learn stuff. And I couldn't have wished for a better crew to discuss Dune with. Again, you find all 3 discussions. Now they're full blast in, because it assumes that you have read the book, have read together with us, or read it at a different time before we started. But you can still read, of course, the book and then watch those discussions. As I say, I had so much fun, but also it was really great to kind of get all those other ideas and how those people experience those books, and then for the last discussion also experience the film. So we're talking about Dune 2 in the last discussion as well. I also did a video on how do authors make us to go into the darkest corner of our hearts. So what strategies do authors employ to make us actually go there and think about those things. And I'm looking at 4 strategies in this video. Again, it's spoiler free. The 4 authors I picked for this are just examples. Other authors, of course, employ similar strategies like those. It's just there to get us thinking a little bit more about, yeah, why would I willingly follow an author's lead into an area that's not necessarily very pleasant. And the last thing I want to mention is a discussion, or better, a conversation I had with Jared on his channel, The Fantasy Thinker, where he invited me very kindly to his segment BookThink, where he has another booktuber to talk about a book. And if it's a book that he has read as well, then it's like a more in-depth spoilery discussion about the book, or in our case, Jarvis hadn't read China Miéville's Embassy Town, then it's the booktuber trying to convince him why this is a good book. That's on Jared's channel, and I will put a link in the description box to this as well. I didn't do much reading. Of course, I reread Dune for the Dune discussions. Otherwise, there wasn't much reading done, because there was other stuff happening. Like in February, we had a bit of mishap with our heating system. It stopped working. Fun. February here in Ireland is still quite cold. And in that first Dune discussion, I'm sitting there hogging an electric heater. So that was a bit of a mess and took a while, and there was other stuff going on as well. So I didn't get that much reading done, but hey, that's life, that's normal. I'm currently reading at the moment, while I'm still filming this, I read this one here. Very short book by, I think it's pronounced Amal El-Mokhtar and Max Gladstone, How You Win the Time War. This is an initiative over on the Page Showing forum, and was a suggestion by Paramita, who said we should do something to mark International Women's Day, which was on the 8th of March. Yeah, nothing on this channel here. I just wasn't organized enough. My apologies, but maybe next year, we'll see. But yeah, so this was the winner. We got some choices to vote on, and this was the winner to read. I've read this before, so for me this is a reread, but I'm loving it. I've loved it the first time. I'm still loving it. It's time travel, enemies to lovers, in an epistolary letter format. Yeah, that sounds like a mouthful, but it's much more enjoyable as you might think. So we have 2 agents, red and blue, cover, and they travel through time and try to alter events in time so that they get a different outcome in the future, that their respective governments seem as more favorable. And one of them leaves the other a little note, and it's more like a taunt, more like a, look who was here before, and I'm better than you. And over time, those letters, for a better word, start changing in tone. And a little love story starts to unfold. It's really charming on this level, but it's also totally bonkers weird, because the letters aren't letters in our sense. They are anything that can be used to encode a message. And it has like little quirky things where one of the 2 letter writers, she consults an early 19th century book on the art of letter writing. And it advises her, for example, kind of how to structure the letter, but then also that she should perhaps seal the letter. And the book really is full of little kind of like playful things, like word plays, like in this case, the word seal as the, Vex seal for letters, but also the animal, and how those 2 go together in encoding a message. You need to read the book. It's It's, as I say, it's playful, it's bonkers, it's weird, it's charming. It's super short. By the time you see this video, I've finished this. Highly recommend. The other book I'm reading is the second in the Murder Book Diaries series by Martha Wells, which is called Artificial Condition. I love Murderbot. Yes. There are people who don't like the series, who say, well, the first one was the best, the rest is a bit boring, or I don't get it. What's exciting about a robot that sits on the couch and just wants to veg out on soaps? I think Murderbot is just brilliant. I like how it's first-person narration. This is another thing that some people find off-putting. I think it really works well because we get Murderbots, ideas about humans, and we get them filtered through the artificial intelligence of Murderbot. And I think it shines a really wonderful light on us humans, which is not always very, how shall I say, flattering. But yeah, I love Murderbot. So, have I any other reading planned? Not really. I'm at the moment not so into TBRs and planning. There are, let's say, 3 books I have arcs for that I will read and then also review on this channel. One is Paolo Bacigalupi's Navola, which will be out in July. So there's still a bit of time for me to read this. And this was kindly provided through NetGalley for me. So was the other one, which is by S.C. Mendez. It's called The City. This is an urban fantasy, which seems to have been published before. And I don't know if self-published and then picked up by a publisher. I have no idea. I need to research this a bit more. But it sounded quirky. It's set in Chinatown, so not your usual urban fantasy. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I also was auto-approved by the publisher, again through NetGalley, but the publisher kind of like sent me an email saying that I'm auto-approved for the next installment because The City is the first in a trilogy. So 3 books that I want to read and also now have to read, and you can hear me at some stage talking about them here on the channel. Otherwise, no firm reading plans. So what will be on the channel then? Yeah, let's have a look. I also did a little survey a while ago. And I want to talk about my channel plans by kind of like looking at the results of this survey a little bit as well. Now, there were 2 results where I was saying, yay. There was one result where I was like, this is weird. Are you lying to me? Viewers, what's going on? And there was another result that was a little bit disappointing. So I asked you what are things you would like to see more of on my channel. So those are all things I do in some way or another. And I was trying to find out, what do you really like? What do you want to see more of? And let's start with the, let's say, slightly disappointing result. You got 5 things to choose from, and the only 3% of you want to hear more about self-published and indie authors. And personally, I find that a little bit disappointing. I think self-published authors are worth reading. I've read them before. I will keep reading them. In which way or form I will talk about them here is a different story, but I will not totally let go of self-published authors, even though if only 3% of you are interested. The next result is the slightly weird result. Only 30% of you say they would like more discussions or more live discussions. Now, why is this a slightly weird result? Because the discussions actually get really good views. They're almost my best viewed content at the moment. There is only very, very few other videos that get more views than like the read-along discussions or the discussions that I've done in other contexts, like for example the fantasy and violence discussion that I did with Varsha and Philip is my second best viewed video. So I'm like, you seem to like them, but you don't want more of them. Okay, we'll see where that is going. And then we go to the, let's say, more expected results, and results where I say, yeah, sure, I do this, I love doing this. Of course, we can do more of this. 20% of you want a bit more on the history of the genre, and 23% of you would like deep dives with a female representation focus. The last one there, the deep dive with the female representation focus, is definitely not a problem. I actually filmed a video on Dune and its female representation, and does it hold up to, yeah, our today's standards and expectations in that respect. And then I tried to upload it into my editing software, and my laptop said, no, will not open. And I tried this, that, and the other. I called my, let's say, computer wizards. No go. I will have to refilm this. Yeah, I know, not ideal. I hope to have this video for you after Easter, probably the first or second video after Easter should hopefully be out. And I would like to do a couple more in that line. So if you have other, how shall I say, let's say more classic fantasy or science fiction. I personally actually think Dune is more fantasy than science fiction, but it can be both. It can be fantasy or science fiction. If you have books where you think, yeah, I would like to get more an analysis of how does female representation work in that book, you know where the comment section is. Leave your suggestions there below, and I'll be very happy to have a look and see what we can do about this to, yeah, fulfill this idea of deep dive into female representation. And the result I'm actually very, very pleased about is that 40% of you want to know about lesser known female authors. And I think that's excellent, because this is something I'm passionate about as well. I like to explore. This is actually an area where I myself at the moment find more authors I have never heard of before, and then can get excited about. I don't know exactly which format this will take, but I have at least 2, maybe even 3 ideas of what I could do there. So we'll see what we do with this, but there is definitely lots of scope. For the near future, as I say, you'll be getting something on Dune and female representation on Dune. I also have another installment of the Lynn Gwyn project in the making. And I'm also sitting down with a couple of people to talk about religion and religious conflict and its role in fantasy and sci-fi. And the people I will be talking to are the author P.L. Stewart, who is the author of the Drowned Kingdom saga, which features a religious war. Philip Chase, who is the author of the Edan trilogy, again a trilogy that features a religious war. And I will be also joined by the booktubers AP Canavan from A Critical Dragon and Laura from Fantasy Awash. And there might be another author. I don't know for sure yet, but there might be another author. We will be sitting down in April to talk, as I say, about religion, religious conflict. And then later in April, you will get this discussion on the channel here. Yeah, so that's it for me from today. Thank you for watching if you're still here. Also, thank you to all the new subscribers that the channel has gotten. I deeply appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. And yeah, till the next video, happy reading and all the best.